Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 6th June 2022. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. I am a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. This is my spiritual channel, and spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. In our previous videos, we had been discussing about causal intelligence, genius, which is based on the foundation of causal intelligence, and several examples vouching this particular theory. Today, in this video, we shall talk about another case study. There was a guy called Tyson who lived in the state of New York in America with his family. On 30th June 1966, it is said that officially one baby was born in that family and it was christened Mike Tyson. However, surprisingly, except for this baby and his father who is now deceased, no one in the family wants to acknowledge the presence of this baby. This is as per records from several magazines and testimonials in American journalism. Nobody wants to claim that this boy belongs to that family, though this boy says that he is. Now, this boy soon got into a bad company, and at the age of 12, he was arrested and sent to a juvenile delinquency home. There, he was seen when he was 12 by another person called Mr. Cus Diamato, who was a boxing recruiter. He used to recruit boys to make them as boxing champions. This 12-year-old boy was trying to escape the juvenile home, and 8 adult workers of that particular home were not able to physically prevent this boy from running. Cus Diamato was surprised. How can a 12-year-old boy fight with 8 well-built adult workers of the juvenile home? Immediately he decided that this boy should be recruited for boxing. Mr. Cus Diamato did so. He had Mike Tyson released from the juvenile home and he took this boy under his wing. Now, the training was about to take place. However, to the dismay of Mr. Mike Tyson, Cus Diamato treated him just like people treat horses, and they break the horses to make them more pliable and trained for racing purposes, etc. Similarly, Mr. Cus Diamato put Mr. Mike Tyson under a very, very almost impossible rigorous form of physical training. It was like this: if a man can run for 1 mile in a day, Mr. Castiamato asked Mr. Mike Tyson to run for 5 miles a day. If a man could, on an average, do 1000 sit ups, Mr. Castiamato asked Mr. Mike Tyson to do 5000 sit ups. This went on for another 6 months. Mike Tyson got fed up, angry, and upset at Castiamato. He asked this man, "You told me that you are releasing me from the juvenile home so that you can teach me boxing, but for the 6 months you have been asking me only to do impossible physical exercises. When are you going to teach me boxing?" The reply that Mr. Castiamato gave Mr. Mike Tyson then is today a collector's item. Mr. Castiamato told Mr. Mike Tyson, "The day you get so tired after these exercises that you are unable to even get up, I am going to ask you to get up and start boxing training." That means that Mr. Castiamato was training Mr. Mike Tyson all the time to become a very good boxer. He made him do so many exercises that this guy could become tough internally before taking up boxing. This was going to pay in later times. Mr. Mike Tyson on that day realized, or knowingly or unknowingly got into causal intelligence. For the time being, all his etheric senses and astral mind vanished. Only his focus on boxing remained. This guy did all the exercises and then learned boxing and became such an excellent boxer that despite being only 5 foot 10 inches in height, he was built like a rhinoceros. His neck was 19 inches thick and his weight was 222 pounds of solid bone and muscles. Despite being bulky, he was not having an ounce of fat in his body. It was all well-toned muscles and bone. Mr. Mike Tyson entered the boxing arena at the early age of 18, and for the next few years, Mr. Mike Tyson, also called Iron Mike, won 40 boxing bouts with 30 to 36 KOs, that is knockouts. In 36 bouts, he had knocked out the opponents. People thought then that Mike Tyson was indispensable. But as there is a proverb, this world is full of indispensable men. Genius had possessed Mr. Mike Tyson when he was in causal intelligence. But suddenly, after Mr. Castiamato's death, this guy slipped into etheric senses and astral mind full of emotions and feelings. Gone was the genius of Mr. Mike Tyson. This guy started falling in love left, right, and center, and once he was accused of raping a girl. He was even imprisoned for that. The genius of this boxing legend, Mike Tyson, slipped away. And for the first time, this boy, Mr. Mike Tyson, began experiencing defeats after defeats. So much so that Mr. Larry Holmes, who was around 17 years elder to Mr. Mike Tyson, went up to 4 or 3 rounds in boxing with Mr. Mike Tyson. It was another matter that Mr. Mike Tyson won, but even he acknowledged that he had seldom come across such a powerful opponent. Later on, after the genius left, Mr. Mike Tyson went bankrupt. He was cheated of his hard earned money and all his stardom slipped, but some of it he has still retained and he is still fighting as a boxing champion. Though the actual stardom and the charisma has long left him. Kindly let me know what you think of my story about Mr. Mike. Please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that I can keep reminding you of my future videos. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.